Adam Schefter at ESPN says there's 275,000 people.
Well, that was some party in downtown Detroit. 775,000 people shattering the NFL draft attendance record.
This is the future.
All grits.
Evolution. This is the future.
All grits.
Evolution.
All grits.
Rise and Grind Morning Show is the best podcast in the world. Amik Robinson.
All right, we could be the best, but we're definitely the latest. Good morning, everybody. Welcome in. It's Monday. After a long bye week, taking a lot of time off, just can't get functioning today. But hey, we're in. We're going to be talking about Detroit Lions news and rumors today. Trade analysis. Got a segment coming up called True or False, or fake news or false news and truth. We're going to get into it. We're going to be talking about all the trades that are going to be going down this week. None of them for the Detroit Lions, more than likely, but we're at least going to have the conversation. We're going to be breaking down Rich Eisen's video from last week. Want to hear what he said after the Bucs game. It's about 5-6 days old, but at least want to listen back to what happened last week and what they're talking about. This weekend was full of a ton of controversy, as there was and has been probably the last couple of weeks. Ever since that Lions game, it seems like now that a lot of announcers, a lot of analysts, a lot of post-game analysts, and even players are having a lot of problems or a lot of opinions about what's going on with the refs, the calls, New York involvement. And I'm going to get more into that tomorrow as I can dig through it today. But there's a lot going on. And I think that we're going to be hearing pretty soon here the NFL's involvement, potential involvement, alleged involvement in a betting scandal. It's coming. I can feel it. It's alleged. It's an opinion. But something's happening. But we'll be jumping in here right away. We're going to get right into everything we got going on this morning. Glad to have you guys with us here on the Rise and Grind Morning Show. Let's get Eric in here. We'll be back in 17 seconds.
Pressured by Hutchinson, he goes down again.
All right. Good morning, Eric. How are you?
Good morning. Fantastic.
I think my
Doing a lot
audio
better today.
My audio's fine now. Nope, just
Yeah.
dipped again.
Oh, jeez.
Just dipped again. So we've had constant issues ever since his latest update. And I'm sick of talking about it, but it's just constant. We can't hear anything.
Yeah, mine dipped down too. There we go.
Let me see if I can turn this off again. It's like it has a mind of its own.
Yes.
I turn it off, it turns itself on. I turn it off, it turns itself on. Let me do it one more time. Auto gain control is off. There we go. All right.
All right.
Audio should be back right now. All right. So anyway, good morning, everybody. What a long several days of no Lions action. Obviously, a weekend with no Lions football this weekend. No Monday night game for 2 Mondays or Sunday nights and Monday nights in a row. Our bye week is over. We are officially halfway through the season. And we've got the hardest, or what we thought was going to be the hardest, part of the schedule coming up. Unless Tyrell Tracy turns out to be a really good back for New York, I'm no longer worried about New York. Unless something changes with Pittsburgh, I'm no longer worried about Pittsburgh. The Eagles, I think you always have to worry about the Eagles. Is there anybody else really on this roster, Eric, that has you questioning whether the Lions are going to be able to win or not?
The only team I see, the two teams I see are still the two teams that I saw early in the season that might be losses for the Lions, and that's the Philadelphia Eagles and the Los Angeles Rams. I had those two games as losses before we started all this, and I still see us having two losses in the second half of the season.
You still see us losing to both those teams?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So one of my thoughts this weekend, and it's I can't remember which day I put it in. Let me see which day I put it in. But it talks about the momentum factor, or I guess that's really it. I think that is what it's called. Let me look. It's the momentum of the Lions offense, or the momentum of the Lions, as it is. Like, where are we trending? It's called the offensive momentum meter. I wish I had good enough graphic skills to be able to make a meter. But if you were to envision a meter, let's say 1 to 10, 10 being the best, right?
Yep.
Where do you think we are first half and then second half? For me, it's first half. I would say we are probably touching a solid 6 on the offensive side of the football. We got out of the gate slow. We jumped up to a 10. And then it seemed like a couple games later, we kept falling back a little bit each game. I'd say we touched a solid 6 on the meter, 10 being the best we could absolutely play. All things clicking. Bears game is a pretty good example of that. And even that game wasn't perfect. Where's the meter now? And where should it be before the Eagles game is the biggest question for me. Vikings, I'm not that concerned about. They have a good defense. Commanders, don't know what's going on with Jaden Daniels from week to week. I think he's down with a hamstring injury right now. That could keep him out several weeks. Maybe. But let's just say he's not playing, and I don't care who's in for the Vikings. I'm not worried about their offense. Where should our meter be by the Eagles game? Week 11.
Well, I'd say right now it's at an 8, because we're winning about 80% of our games through the first half of the season. And I'll take an 8, and you know what? We might ramp it up to a 9 after this Minnesota game. So going into the Eagles, if we're at an 8 or a 9, I'm happy, ready to go for the second half of the season. And if we can just be consistent, and so we went 5-2 in this first half. If we can go 6-2 in this second half, well, that's perfect. That's exactly what we need to do, and end up being 13-4, win the division, and possibly the 1 seed. We may surprise people. We may win at Philly. We may win at the Rams. But if we do, we might drop a weird one to Washington or Green Bay or or Dallas. Something weird might happen. We might have a flub game somewhere. I doubt it, because Dan Campbell, he just doesn't let our guys not be prepared and not be ready for an opponent, and I don't think he overlooks anyone. So they're not going to overlook Minnesota this weekend. That's a hated rival as far as Dan's concerned. I don't see any let off, and we're coming out of the bye. So in the last 10 years, the Lions are 6-3-1 coming out of the bye. I think that, and that's even taking into consideration, that's the Matty Patty years in there as well. So just Dan Campbell, he's doing pretty darn well coming off the bye after a bye week. And I think he is going to have these guys rested up, ready to go. And we're going to start getting some reinforcements back, which may help us, maybe not so much on the offensive side, but on the defensive side of the ball, which in turn will help the offensive side of the ball. If we're getting more pressures, we're getting more, maybe not sacks, but more tackles for loss and more turnovers. If we can create some more turnovers and some more havoc with that defense, man, that just makes our offense that much better, especially when we can do our favorite formation at the end of the game, taking a knee.
Okay. Obviously, the defense is a big part of what your total team identity does and can do. So my question, first Q&A this morning is, where is your offensive meter for the Lions through week 8, 1 through 10? Obviously, 10 being the best. Do you think the Lions have hit on all cylinders? Obviously, for me, it's a 6. Eric thinks it's an 8. I'm going to stay steadfast with my 6. I think the defense has been opportunistic. I think that they have helped out this Lions offense a ton. And if you go back and look at a lot of the possessions where there wasn't a turnover, the Lions haven't done enough. They absolutely have not done enough with their own opportunities. When the field flips naturally, they haven't done enough. Even though they've scored a lot of points early, they have fallen off the face of a cliff, in my opinion, over the last couple of weeks. The Bucs game was a reminder that you have to get everybody involved. We haven't even used JMO for several weeks now. And that, I think, is going to get us to an 8 the minute that he gets involved. I mean, it's good to see Gibbs involved. The one thing I think both you and I wanted from the very beginning of this season was to see Gibbs more involved in the pass game. I never would have thought that his opportunities would have eaten into Jameson Williams' opportunities the way that it has. And now you're almost facing that crossroads of, what do you do when you have this many players that can play, that this many mouths to feed? Sam Laporta's not even getting involved. He goes off of goes from a breakout 1,000-yard season, or almost 1,000-yard season his rookie year, to, I wouldn't say pedestrian, which a lot of people said he was pedestrian his second season. I don't view it that way at all. But this year he is. This year he hasn't done squat. Is that a bad thing? Or is that just a culmination of the Lions have too many mouths to feed and we'll take a win any way we'll get it? I think it's a great identity to have. I think it's fundamental to a team that wants to win a championship, that nobody cares about their touches. But I think that there does come a time and place when it becomes a disruption, when players are finally going to say, look, enough's enough. I need the ball. We need to win. We need to make plays. And I need to get paid. How are you going to pay me if I'm not making plays? So that'll bring me into my next question. Speaking of offensive production, was Jameson Williams way overpaid? And the reason why I asked that is because there was a rumor that I was going to do a video on. Decided not to. I still might. But now that we're in the crux of trade deadline, there was a rumor popped up by Jordan Schultz last week talking about Jameson Williams. So I'll highlight that in just a moment. But when you think about players that need to get paid, how could you ever how could you ever sell me on the fact that a player like Sam Laporta, who had a crazy good rookie year, right, can go in and make top dollar as a tight end if he's not being fed the ball, if he's not an intricate part of your offense, blocking aside, right? If you want blockers, then you go get a bunch of Brock Wrights. If you want blockers. If you want playmakers, you get a couple of Sam Laportas. And right now, if you're using Sam as a blocker, you're not using him to his best ability. But how are you going to pay him in a year or two at the high level that he's going to want to get paid call it $12, $13 million a year or more. How could you pay a tight end that kind of money if you're not utilizing him to a Kelsey or a Kittle, type, or in the offense? If he's not integrated deeply into the offense, how could you pay him that much money? So thinking about that for a moment, what type of situation are the Lions in with all these contracts? I've been talking about it for a while that, you can't pay certain players boatloads of money. You can't bring certain players in because you have all these other guys to pay. But if they're not going to use them, then why pay them? That's my biggest question. So I guess think about that. Give me your thoughts on that.
I think J-Mo's going to be just fine. I think Sam Laporta is going to be just fine in this offense. There are so many mouths to feed, and you can't focus on either one of them all the time in every game. You have to take what the defense gives you, and that's what this offense has been doing all season long. If it's not there, it's just not there. And I think teams have been making a very focused effort to take away J-Mo in that deep shot, because the few times he has gotten the ball, he rips it for 30, 40, 50 yards, and sometimes it's a touchdown. So you don't want J-Mo getting loose on you. And I think teams have figured out that stop J-Mo and then worry about the rest later on. And maybe Sam Laporta, maybe he's been having to help with some blocking because of our struggles at left tackle. Coming into this season, we didn't think we were going to have an injury to Taylor Decker that was going to make him miss multiple games, and then when he came back, be kind of not fully functional. I think that once we get some health back at this left tackle position, and that's exactly what this bye week may have done, it may have finally gotten Taylor Decker back to being halfway healthy. And that's the hope anyway. If he's not fully healthy, this could end up being a very long season for the Detroit Lions, especially if we have no help at left tackle. So you're speaking of trades and people wanting to trade away J-Mo and stuff. Well, how about a trade for a left tackle? If it's huge, if you're going to trade for anyone, any position on the field, I don't think it's going to be defense. I think it's going to be a left tackle or a swing tackle, someone that can help out if, heaven forbid, Taylor Decker goes down for the rest of the season on one of these games. I would think we would be more apt to go after a tackle, maybe a swing tackle, because Dan Skipper is not the answer at left tackle.
No, he was never the answer. And I think that was probably my biggest takeaway a couple of weeks ago, is that my biggest concern for a trade was the tackle position. It was always offensive line. There comes a time and a place where you can always add defense, and you can continue to add defense after the fact. But there's only one opportunity to add a premier left tackle or premier backup, someone that can help this team in a pinch. And that is at the trade deadline. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. Just like defensive ends or, top corners in the league, few and far between do you see a left tackle ever traded at the deadline. Like that just usually doesn't happen. Or a center, right? That usually just doesn't happen. So I don't think it's going to happen. I haven't heard anything. We have heard a few things. We've read a few things. But outside of that, I have not heard one iota of any credible sources. I know there's people saying stuff, but it's just like I could come on here every day and say, I have sources saying this. Name your effing sources then. Unless you're going to put them under, condition of anonymity. Always try to use your sources, unless it's an inside, person that you're not going to burn. But if you never get your calls right, ever, why would anyone believe you? You know what I'm saying? Like every single year, there's a certain collection of people that consistently will say, this is happening and that's happening. And I have sources saying this is and it never happens. Ever. there's a difference with coming on and like doing a piece of content or writing an article and saying that, man, these trades would be great. You know, look at these guys. They could help out the Lions. Should the Lions trade for them? That's different than coming out and saying, I got all these sources saying that this is going to happen. This is what the Lions are going to do. Now, if a couple of insiders, or people that are very close to the operation, like Diana Rossini or Jordan Schultz, you know, they've floated some ideas. But when they start saying sources are telling me this, and it never happens, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. But I also understand the NFL is changes. Like on the drop of a dime, it'll change. 1 minute it could be this, the next minute it could be something else. And that could be because maybe a better deal popped up, or someone became available that maybe wasn't available before. And then you have to, you know, hedge your bets on which is the best way to go. But every year it's Brad Holmes is making calls for a defensive end. Okay. When we were injured, when we lost Aiden, when we had nobody left, absolutely he was probably trying to pull something off. Right? He did last year at the trade deadline with Darius Smith. But it wasn't for Crosby, right? It wasn't for Trey Hendrickson. It wasn't for Parsons. It wasn't for any of these other elite defensive ends. And just like this season, it's crazy to me that people wouldn't think that the Lions would go out and trade for, not saying this would happen, but Tristan Wirf type, you know, tackles, or Penei Sewell type tackles, right? That to me would be more engaging. That to me would make way more sense. But they're not going to trade to replace Decker this year. I think that they would trade to back him up and back him up with a high-level player that doesn't have to be a $20, $30 million guy. It could be a $6, $7, $8 million guy. It could be a $4 or $5 million guy. Doesn't have to be a big, expensive dude. And it could be a guy that might be on a rookie deal that's ending, you know, at the end of his rookie deal, that is looking to get his next paycheck, which may not be a big, massive deal. So when you look at the future of the team, and you always look at the depth first, or at least I think sane people do, they look at the depth first. You bring in a player like that now that could end up being, you know, a chain mover for you next year, the swing tackle of the future, in replacing Skipper, because I don't think Skipper's on this roster next year. Matter of fact, I'm pretty positive he's not. So you have to find somebody, and I think that is a perfect way to do it. If you need somebody this year to back up Decker in a pinch, and you have somebody for the future that you could end up signing to a fairly decent contract. By decent, I don't mean expensive. I mean team decent, right? Team friendly. So there's all that. Let's get into some of these trades that everyone's talking about.
Well, I'll tell you also with trades, there are 3 other teams in the division who may also be looking for offensive lineman help. The Minnesota Vikings have been wrecked with injuries to their offensive line, with Brian O'Kelly with a knee injury, Christian Darrisaw with ankle injury, Ryan Kelly has been in and out of concussion protocol, and then Michael Juergens had a hamstring injury. And then you have the Green Bay Packers. Last night, they lost Zach Tom to injury. Jordan Morgan. They had Anthony Belton and Aaron Banks. Both had groins or ankles earlier in the season. And then yesterday, Chicago Bears, Braxton Jones has a knee injury, and he's been ruled out for the Ravens game yesterday. So there's 3 teams right there that could all probably use a backup offensive lineman as well. So if the Lions do decide to try to trade for an offensive lineman, they might have a lot of competition this year.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Okay, so last week, this was on the 24th, it's just 3 days ago. This popped out on Twitter. And when I saw it, I'm like, come on. Really? How does that make sense? Here we go. Oh, hey, it's not there.
Did you also
Where did it go?
also notice that Rossini went from saying the Lions are trading for an edge to now she's saying to a corner?
Oh, yeah. It's,
Yeah.
I mean, it's constant, dude. It's
Yeah.
just, I don't get it. I'll never understand why people just want to make shit up. I'll never get it. I'll never understand why you got to lie about stuff. Or I'm not saying she's lying. I'm just saying this doesn't make any sense at all. Period. Why is this not working? Like, this is not working now either. What the hell
Are
is
you
going on?
playing a video or something?
No, it's just a capture. It's just not. It's not even working at all. It's like every time I bring in a window capture, it deletes itself. And now it's going to be all screwed up. Yeah, it deletes itself. Oh my God, what is this thing doing? And so then I got to redo the whole thing. I mean, I had it all set. You saw it. I had it all set before we started.
Yeah.
So that way I can just go from tab to tab to tab to tab, and it's just gone. I don't get it. Ever since they did all these updates with OBS and everything else, everything has just been a mess.
So now we're interested in a wide receiver.
Okay, but so take a look at it, right? Here, let's try this again. Let's try this again. Let's see if it stays. Oh my gosh, it's there. But the next one probably won't be there. Okay, so this rumor came out last week. Lions heavy interest in Rashid Shaheed from the Saints, due in part to the slow start of Jameson Williams. And I'm like, okay, how much is Shaheed going to cost? Number one, right? Like, what's the value here? It can't be much. Like, is it a first round pick? No. Are you trading JMO and bringing Shaheed in? I'm not saying that I would do that on the eve of trying to win a Super Bowl. But if something's going on with JMO, then you kind of don't have a choice, right? You kind of don't have a choice. Of course, it just moved. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, if there's any truth to the whole video game gate, oh my God, everything just got messed up. What am I doing? If there's any truth to it,
I'm still there though. That's the important thing.
Says you. If there's any truth to this whole, like, look at everything's all jacked up now.
Yeah.
Anyway, if there's any truth to the whole video game gate, then okay, maybe you have to do something, because maybe that was the final straw.
What's video game gate? That St. Brown was playing video games at 4 a.m?
Yeah, there was his friend, and then it was speculated that it was JMO.
Oh, okay.
Because then the next day he had that terrible game, like dropped everything, and so okay, we'll insert tinfoil hat for just a moment. What if there's something gambling going on, right? We just, the whole NBA is going down in flames.
Oh, and it's starting to leak into the NFL. So later on, I have something with that. It's filtering into the NFL now.
I expected it. Like, I'm not thinking that anyone is not, involved. I think there's a lot of people involved.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, everything's all jacked up, man. What the hell? Whatever. I guess that everything can't be perfect every day. We know that because every day starts off imperfect. But at least I woke up. So anyway, I'm almost guaranteeing at some point it's gonna hit hard. But the question is, let me get off of this. Let me get into the next one. The reason why I only cared about talking about this was the next one. And this one came out by Jordan Schultz, right? So to verify that there are some potential action going on with Shaheed or Olave, that both are set to be free agents after this season. All right. They share the same rep, and the Saints are sitting at 1-6. So I would believe that there's going to be some action with the Saints. They're going to try to, what I told you last night, Eric, and I firmly believe this. So I will come back to this. I firmly believe this, that smart teams stack picks. Smart teams will go out and do something at the trade deadline. If they're having a crap season, they're going to offload some players to stack some picks. Smart teams do that. And smart teams will also know, look, this is just going to be too expensive. I'm going to get whatever I can get. And it is what it is, because you want to keep your roster young and healthy and inexpensive as much as you can. And with the Lions having 5-6 legit weapons on offense, you can afford to lose one, possibly two. I wouldn't lose more than one this year if they were to do something. But wouldn't it be smart to say, okay, Jamo had a crazy good year last year. Well, he had 1,001 yards. He had a pretty damn good year for him. He really hasn't done squat throughout his career. He really hasn't. I don't care how electric he's been. He is electric. I get that. But what has he really done? He really hasn't done anything. If we're impressed by 1,001 yards in 1 out of 4 seasons, we got problems. Because Amon-Ra does that in his sleep. And he's a 4th-round pick. So if you're a smart team and you're thinking we've had problem after problem after problem, suspension, gambling, suspension, PEDs, potential video game gate, and then, no production this year. Are we blaming Morton? Who are we blaming? Why is there no production? And then I see people chiming in, and they're not this morning, but over the weekend, and some of these Twitter posts. Oh, well, you need to blame Jared Goff. He can't throw the ball to him. Oh, my God. Are we serious? We're going back to that now? I think that Jared Goff has proven he can throw the ball to anybody. Anywhere. As deep as it needs to go. He can do it. That's not the problem. Okay, blame John Morton. All right, let's blame John Morton. Then why didn't Ben Johnson have any success with him in his first couple of seasons? He only had 1 good year. Can't blame John Morton. You have to blame the player at some point. You have to. And I think that a smart team cuts their losses. And I'm not saying to do this with JMO. I'm just saying smart teams at some point say, man, if I can get a 2nd and a 5th for you, what would that do for me next year? Or what would that 2nd and a 5th do for me right now? If I traded you for a 2nd and a 5th, and then I could go get a rental on Hendrickson for a 2nd and a 5th, or a rental on somebody else for a 2nd and then I think fans' ears will start to perk up and say, well, wait a second. We've been clamoring about edge. You're saying that we could trade Jamo for an edge? We're not even using the dude. And then you bring in a guy like Shaheed? What if you got Shaheed for Jamo and a draft pick? And then you're able to use that draft pick in one of your own to go get a rental on Hendrickson. Then what? So there's options out there. And that's why I wanted to talk about it. And there's ways to do it. I don't want to see Brad get stuck in the mud. That's what I don't want to see. I don't want to see him get stuck. I don't want to see him overcommit. And again, this isn't about Jamo. It's about the rumor that the Lions are uninterested in Jamo now because he's had a slow start, too many issues, and now they're looking. So at the end of the day, now I want you to say your piece on this whole Jamo thing. Like what is on your mind now that I've said all that? I've put all the hypotheticals out there.
Yep.
What is your statement to that?
If you go back to last year and look where Jamo was at this point in the season, he's really not that far off from where he was last year. I think I was reading the other day, he's like 130 yards off of his pace from last year and has about the same amount of TDs. So I don't think it's that big of a deal yet. If this lingers on throughout the season, then it becomes a big deal. When we were at training camp, Jamo was dominating. He was, I thought for sure he was going to come out and be an absolute number 1 wide receiver this year. I thought he was going to be unstoppable. And I think he still has it in him. He's just got to hit that switch. And I don't think it's that far off. If you look at what we're getting out of some of our other wide receivers, like Isaac Tesla, he's got 3 catches on the season, 4 catches.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it's just Jamo. I think it's just the scheme, what we're using them for. JMO, he gets a lot of attention, and that attention opens up people like Amon-Ra St. Brown or Sam Laporta or the backfield, someone leaking out of the backfield, David Montgomery or Jahmyr Gibbs. So I don't mind him taking all this attention. And the same thing could be said for David Montgomery. How come he's not having the great season like he was last year? How come his numbers are down this year? It's because they're focusing on Gibbs. They're really giving Gibbs a shot at being the number one wide or the number one running back right now. So with JMO, I just think it's a time issue. I think we just need to give it a little more time and see what happens. After the season, you can reassess. But for right now, I don't see Brad doing anything with JMO. We just re-signed him. I just, what that would do to the morale of the team, that would be a heart crusher, because Brad's never taken someone that we just re-signed and shoved him out the door.
Okay, look, I'm gonna play devil's advocate this morning. Okay, I want to make sure I frame this the right way, because I don't want people to think I'm some JMO hater. That's not it. We're having the hard discussion this morning.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
That's all we're doing. We're having the discussion that nobody else wants to have.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's different about this channel.
Well,
so here's let me push back at you for a moment.
Tread lightly.
Okay, but let me push back a little bit
because we all know what happened with JMO on X.
Oh, come on, man.
So
we
got to get back in his good graces.
I could care less. If you guys haven't figured it out, I could care less about clout or follow. I could care less about, being somewhere up, recognizable and in front. Yeah, I don't care about that. I really don't. The thing that I want to push back on for just a moment is you mentioned, JMO taking, kind of the top off, right? And you have to put some resources to him. Yeah, film told me a little bit different. It also showed me, again, I was reading through some of the Twitter comments over the weekend, and they were saying kind of the same thing, that JMO takes a lot of the attention away. And look, Jared Goff threw an interception and JMO was wide open. And when I see stuff like that, I'm like, wait a second. Do you know where Jared Goff was in his progressions? Did you watch the film back? Do you have any clue what progression St. Brown was on that play? Had to be 3. Had to be. Because it went JMO, Laporta, and you're on the other side of the field. You don't generally look to the other side of the field and then come back. When you're coming back, that means you're starting back over. You're going back to the progressions you've already moved past. I mean, a lot of quarterbacks go left to right, right to left. I know that they could go center, left, and right. They absolutely can. But on that play, you could tell that Goff was staring right. Then he went left, and they threw the ball. But it was bang bang, right? If JMO wasn't open, or if he was taking an option route, he probably had. I think he had 2 options on this play. It was post, or it was a comeback route, or he could have went. He probably had 3 options. He could have went in. In wouldn't have made sense. So I get it. He can take a lot off. So could Shaheed. Right? You could save yourself a future $27 million a year man, bring in a guy like Shaheed, get a draft pick or 2 back. So I'm going to play devil's advocate. You said something else there, and I already forgot what you said. But there's something else I was going to push back on.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the heart crusher thing about paying a guy. That I do believe that JMO is so well loved by his teammates. I do believe that it would be difficult. I absolutely believe that. However, again, what if? What if there is a problem? What if JMO let the team down a little bit because of the whole, let's say the game gate is true, okay? Playing what if theory today. What if that let his team down, right? And they're like, you know what? We love you, dude, but you can't be doing this, man. We're trying to win a Super Bowl. What if it's holding him back? Okay, so that's the what if theory of the day. at the end of the day, I don't think that Brad would not make a move. Meaning, okay, you just paid someone. I don't think that would restrict him from making a move, because I think sometimes you pay guys to make them happy. You also pay them early so that maybe they're more attractive in a trade scenario, because if you waited, then now that team doesn't know what they're getting. They don't know how much they're paying. You know, price has gone up, yada, yada, yada. So I think there's two sides of that coin. I don't think it would ever restrict him from making something happen. But on the trade itself, JMO for Shaheed or draft picks. What do you think? True or false?
I'm shooting this one down.
You going fake?
Yeah.
All right. Fake news by Eric.
I love it.
All right. I'm just going to go the straight up good old false. Not happening. Not happening. JMO's here to stay, and I think he's going to be just fine too. I think you give him a little bit of time. I think that John Morton is still trying to figure out what to do with all of these weapons. And honestly, I think it's the way that the defenses have played us a little bit too. So I don't think that there's any validity to this. I would say that I would have to wake up on the wrong side of the bed or sleep on the wrong side of the bed for something like this to happen, and for me to wake up and believe that it's actually true like that. It would be a shocker. It would be an absolute shocker, because we do need JMO when he's having a good day, right? He just needs to put some good days together. He needs to. Here's the thing about a receiver. Just my final 2 cents. You have to force the offensive coordinator to trust you. And the only way that you can do that is by making plays on the field, by making plays in practice, by doing all the right things. Final thought. JMO took a little bit to understand the playbook, did he not?
Yes.
What if he's struggling a little bit? They kept everything about the same, at least on the surface of it, you would think. But what if there's some nuances with this that maybe he's struggling with the lingo, the verbiage, something? What if he's struggling a little bit? Not saying he's a dumb dude. Just he could be struggling a little bit with it. I mean, it took him a couple of years to kind of get going with one offensive system, and now it's switched up again. And if you go back and listen to what Brad Holmes said, every time it took JMO just a little bit. This wasn't Bryce Young, JMO, just go downfield and catch the ball. Right? That's not what it was coming into the NFL, but that's what it was at Bama. So there could be that. You were going to say something.
That's the most plausible thing you've said about JMO all day. I like that. Now that I can get
I don't
behind.
like it, but
well, I don't like it either, but it got me to thinking that might be the first real possibility is that maybe he is struggling with the playbook a little bit. But I will push back on that a little bit. If you go back to training camp, JMO was tearing it up.
Oh yeah.
He was absolutely a monster. Every throw that Goff threw his way, he was catching it, going for touchdowns. Just insane. He had this aura about him. You know, every time he caught
still
the ball.
does. This dude is like smiling from ear to ear like every day. He's happy.
Yeah.
He just hasn't looked as happy lately, and
no,
hopefully he'll get it back.
Couple down games, but you know what? Be a decoy for a couple of games. If it helps us win, it helps us win, and that's all that matters. And his games are coming. He's going to have a game sooner or later where he has more yards and more touchdowns than Amon-Ra or anyone else on the team. He's going to have his big Gibbs game, and then all will be right with the world, and everyone will leave JMO alone again. The problem is he's had a couple of clunkers, and you know, I don't see anybody getting after Tesla for having 3 catches or 4 catches on the season.
Well, he's a rookie, and he's like he's the 6th man on the list.
Yeah, but he's only got 3 or 4 catches on the season.
Yeah, but he's a rook, dude. He's
dropped a couple now. Where
you can't. I could never look at Isaac Tesla and say you're a problem as a rookie with 6 legit racehorses on this team. You know, or 5. Mm-hmm. You know, Gibbs. You got 5 options. You got Laporta, Gibbs, Monty, JMO, and Amon-Ra all in front of you, and let's just be honest, Khalif Raymond is in front of him too.
Yeah.
So you have all of these options, and yeah, it's going to be tough as a rook to come in and make some plays. Now they've inserted him as a decoy. They've inserted him on some of the, red zone opportunities, and he has made some plays. He's made some big plays. 2 touchdowns on the season. Hell, isn't that more than J-Mo, or about tied with J-Mo?
Yeah.
All right then.
And when I'm at the games, I really pay attention to every single play that he goes in. I do, and I sit and watch him. I'm really rooting for this kid to be amazing, and I think he's going to be eventually. I think he's just, like you said with JMO, possibly having a hard time with this playbook as well. He's not in for a lot of plays, and when he is in, they basically have been using him as the same 3 or 4 plays a lot of the time. It just doesn't seem like he's doing the full everything route tree from every position yet, like they want to use him.
Yeah, that's what it seems like to me. All right, let's move off of him for a moment. Let's just kind of run down this list and kind of stick with the trade or no trade or true or false.
Sure.
We're still struggling and trying to figure out what we're going to call this segment, but we're going to be running it for a while. The biggest name to hit has been Trey Hendrickson. Yeah. Now, defensive end being floated once again. And matter of fact, let me open up. Let me open up something here. So over the weekend, yesterday actually, NFL Trade Rumors put something out that said, according to Dave Burkett of the Detroit Free Press, the Lions could use help at defensive end and named Dolphins outside linebacker Jalen Phillips as the most realistic big name who could be on the move. Burkett also named Raiders defensive end Tyree Wilson, Miami outside linebacker Bradley Chubb, Titans outside linebacker Arden Key, Titans defensive end Draymond Jones, Jets defensive end Jermaine Johnson, and Saints defensive end Cameron Jordan. Out of all of those, Cameron Jordan would only make the most sense because of the Saints situation. Jermaine Johnson, I do like Jermaine Johnson.
But he came out on social media and said that he doesn't want to go anywhere.
I wouldn't either if I was playing under Aaron Glenn. I don't care about the first season being a waste. I think we kind of expected that. Now he's on a rookie deal, and he was drafted in the first round, so he still has the 5th-year option. I assume that they picked it up. Let me see. Yeah, they picked it up. So he has the 5th-year option that'll hit next year at $13.4 million. So if the Lions were thinking about bringing somebody like that in, you would most definitely have to bring him in and give him that year to see what you were going to do. But he's going to want to get paid, just like everybody else is going to want to get paid.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my biggest fear is you bring somebody like that in. To me, that's a move if you're trying to keep the guy. If you're trying to keep a guy like Jermaine Johnson, you bring him in. If you're trying to rent somebody, it's not him. If I'm going to rent somebody, the way I look at it is I got to spend $13.4 million on you next year, plus the balance of this year, plus draft capital. I'd rather spend a couple extra mil and bring in a guy like Trey Hendrickson. But it's going to cost me more draft capital. But he's a proven vet. All right, he's someone that you could probably trust a little bit more. Jermaine Johnson has youth on his side. As far as injuries are concerned, he had an Achilles last year. So he's come back from an Achilles injury. That gives you a little bit of question, but at the same time, I think it does open up the door to saying, okay, we need another year out of you, right? This is kind of your prove it year next year, and then we'll talk turkey. You know what I'm saying? I get all that. I understand it. I could see where it could make sense. But I think we have to talk it out a little bit to bring it to that point of does it really make sense? Tyree Wilson, and just chime in if you have any takes on any of these guys. Tyree Wilson, He's only been in the league, 2 years? Drafted by the Raiders in round 1, number 7 overall. Has he worked out? Maybe not. I don't see a team like the Raiders moving off of a guy this early. He's been in the league since 2023. He's only averaged about 4 sacks a season. I don't see it. I think it's too young. I think it's too early. He hasn't produced. So you might be able to get him cheap, but why would the Raiders want to give somebody up like that cheap when you could just slide him to a backup role as opposed to offing the guy for, you spent a first-round draft pick on him. I don't think you would off a guy in his 3rd season just because he hasn't produced 10, 12 sacks a year. You know what I mean? The Raiders just haven't been good. Plus, you have Max Crosby on the other side. There's the other analysis, right? You bring in a guy like Tyree Wilson. He hasn't turned out to be much. He was a first-round draft pick. And he's on the opposite side of Max. So what would change with Aiden? Nothing for me. So that one doesn't make sense to me. You're definitely not bringing in someone that gives you more than what you're already getting now. Bradley Chubb doesn't make sense at all. I'm not even going to go down that road. Jalen Phillips doesn't make sense as a 3-4 outside linebacker. Okay, you could put him up on the line. You could put him as an off-ball linebacker. Hell, you could put him out in the wide 9 if you really wanted to. I'm sure he would be able to produce something, but as a 3-4 outside linebacker coming into this, I don't see it. So on any of the defensive end talk, whether it's Tyree Wilson, Jalen Phillips, Arden Key, who's outside linebacker, Draymond Jones, Cameron Jordan, any of them move the needle for you at all? Oh, you froze out and gone? Have I been talking to myself this whole time? Eric, what happened? All right, we'll see. We'll see if he bounces back in. I know he was having issues with his camera this morning. All right, he might be gone. Give me 1 sec. Be right back. I'll pick up right where I left off. Just give me 1 sec.
Center, single back is Gibbs. Goff turn, gives it to Jameer, to the end zone, touchdown Detroit Lions. That's the way you make a statement on the road on Monday night to start a football game, straight down the field to the end zone. It is 2nd and goal from the 1. Goff out of the gun, hands it to Montgomery, tries the left side, did not get in. It's going to be 3rd and goal from inside the 1. They say he did get in. Late call. There it is. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. Better late than never. Out of the
Pressure by Hutchinson. He goes down again.
I think Eric's camera's done, so he'll be donezo for the day, I believe, unless he wants to call in. So anyway, where I was talking here, where I was going with all this is, does any of this make any sense to anybody? Would any of these players really move the needle for you? And I guess now I will break down each one a little bit. So Tyree Wilson, again, 3rd-year player, 1st-round draft pick. What would it cost to pick him up, right? You're still talking a 2nd and a 5th, more than likely for somebody like that. Bradley Chubb definitely had a lot of injuries. He had an ACL in 2019. He had an ankle injury in 21. He had another ACL in 2023. And then he had another knee last year. Absolutely not. You will not bring in a Bradley Chubb if you're trying to win a Super Bowl. Are you really going to take a risk on somebody that has been this injured this many times? I wouldn't. I know that Brad, to a lot of people, that Brad Holmes is one of those GMs that likes to bring in injured players, but I don't believe that that's really the case. I think he takes an opportunity in free agency. He'll take an opportunity in the draft. It doesn't happen as often as what people think. I don't think that this is an opportunity. I think that this is a, kind of blow it up in your face kind of moment. He's had 4 sacks this season. Pretty good season so far. 22 tackles, 1 forced fumble. He's played in 8 games, 7 starts, 303 snaps. So 67% of the snaps. So he's definitely on a rotation. I wouldn't take the risk with all the previous injury history. And I know what you're thinking, but he did it with Marcus Davenport. And that's why you're not going to do it again. All right? That's why you did it with Emmanuel Mosley. You're not going to do it again. But you're also talking about significantly different contract details here too. You're talking a guy in 2025 making right around $13 million a year. And he's still under contract for 26 and 27 at $31 million a year each season. So he's still owed over $60 million in the next 2 seasons. Hell to the no. Not happening. I can't see Brad Holmes making that dumb of a move. Because that's what it would be. Dumb. With a capital D. Ain't no way. Same thing with Arden Key. Arden Key, look, I last season he played really well against us. I thought he had a good game. He'll be 29 and a half by the time the season's over. He's under contract through 2025. He's owed about $5 million for the rest of the year. So it is a cheap option. It is a cheap option to bring somebody like that in. When I take a look at his injuries, he's been fairly healthy. Really hasn't suffered much throughout his time in the NFL. His stats so far in the season, 2 sacks, 6 tackles. Pretty much a down year. He's only played in 5 games, 3 starts, 166 snaps, 36% snap load. That's it. That's all he's had. So I don't see where that fits for the Lions. If you're trying to bring a guy like this in, who Arden Key's an outside linebacker, yeah, could he play the bigger end, side? Possibly. Let me see what his height weight is. He's 6'5". How much does he weigh? Oh, he's only 240. He'd be more of a speed end guy. So I don't see that fitting. I don't see that fitting with the Lions simply because would you keep him as a linebacker? You'd almost have to. Who are you going to replace? It would be a major upgrade over Nowoski. It absolutely would. But how long is Arden Key going to stick around? And how much is he going to want to get paid next year? If that were even an option. Are you going to bring a guy like that in for one season? The bigger question that I have is who are you going to cut off of this roster to make room for another linebacker? You still have Malcolm Rodriguez coming back. So if you're not going to bring Malcolm back, then and you bring in a guy like Arden Key, who are you cutting? Okay, Zach Cunningham's down. Well, that cleared the path for Malcolm Rodriguez. Essentially, if you go player for player, position for position. I just don't see where that makes any sense. And I don't know that people actually think about these things. A lot of people just throw names out there that, see what sticks to the wall. I mean, if you're going to put a list out there like Jalen Phillips, Tyree Wilson, Bradley Chubb, Arden Key, Draymond Jones, I mean, you might as well just say the entire the entire league. You might as well just take one from every team. So for me, I don't think a defensive end is on the way. And I don't think a receiver is on the way, especially given the fact the Lions have as deep of a receiver room as they do. They still have Isaac Tesla they haven't utilized a whole lot. They have Dominic Lovett, Jackson Meeks. Unless you're trading JMO, I don't see it working. So on all of these players, defensive end and wide receiver, I'm going to go ahead and go a big false for me. Let me know in the comments below, obviously in the chat right now, do you believe that the Lions are making a trade for a defensive end or a wide receiver? If so, who and why? If so, who and why? Okay. All right, offensive tackle. I'll get in that in just 1 second. The next one was corner. So another rumor popped out by Diana Rossini this weekend that corner was also being rumored now. If you take a look at the players that are available, or the players that are potentially rumored to be available, and I start moving down the list, you got Reek Woolen from the Seattle Seahawks. The rumor is multiple league execs have Woolen earmarked as a strong trade candidate leading into the deadline. They've been wanting to move him for a while. That's a quote from one executive. Another quote is, he doesn't fit what Mike McDonald wants to do. Woolen would be best served going to a team that can use him in man coverage. One potential hurdle to the deal, though, is Seattle's other starting corner, Devon Witherspoon, has had difficulty staying healthy and staying on the field. Okay. So there's Reek Woolen. Reek Woolen right now is making about $5 million. He's on the final end, or the final year of his deal. He was drafted in 2022, I believe. Yeah, round 5, 2022. He's turned into a really good football player. He's been averaging about 85% of the snaps since his rookie year. This year, he's playing 76.6%. 6 games, 6 starts, 19 tackles, no interceptions on the season this year. His market value after this season will balloon up to $16 million a year. So if you bring in a guy like Reek Woolen, it would make sense from the perspective that I think exactly the way I've always spoken about the corner position is I like guys going into their second contract. I like guys that have proven themselves for 3, 4, 5 seasons, and then they're going into their second deal. It's exactly what we did with DJ Reed. He might have been on his 3rd deal, possibly. But a guy that's been in the league for a handful of seasons that has proven himself. I think you have to have proven veterans around you, especially when you start to bring in rookies. DJ Reed was brought in round 4 of 2018. So, yeah, he was definitely on his 3rd deal. 7 years of experience. I don't think the Lions are going to, get away from DJ Reed at any point in time. His contract is fairly healthy, $48 million over 3 years, which is $16 million a year. We just paid Kirby Joseph, and you just about to pay Brian Branch. What would make sense for the Lions to bring in a guy like Reek who can play at a high level, can stay on the field, definitely plays at a high level in man-to-man situations? This one has legs to me. No one's talking about it. It's just a player that could be available. But then again, when I think about the Seahawks situation right now, why would they trade one of their top players when they're going, full head of steam into a Super Bowl right now? How does that make any sense? I couldn't imagine the Lions full head of steam into a Super Bowl and then saying, we're going to trade Aiden. Or let's use a better example. We're going to trade Brian Branch. Right? I think that's a fair example. I just don't see that happening. So I don't see a big opportunity for Tariq Woolen to become a Detroit Lion. However, I do like his style of play. And I do believe he'd be a great fit. I mean, the dude's huge. 6'4", elite frame, elite speed. I think that he could be an absolute menace back there. What I don't know about Tariq Woolen, though, is I don't know how his physical traits really match up to his stats, right? I don't have all of his stats in front of me, so I don't know where he's, how well is he, staying sticky? What's his man coverage, his sticky rate? So the lockdown rate that I talked about earlier in the season, which we really haven't spent a whole lot of time yet covering this year. Maybe I'll get an opportunity to do it this week. Right now, he's predicted at 50% being traded. 50% chance of him being traded. So the next corner would be Alontae Taylor out of the New Orleans Saints. Again, this one has immediate legs just because of where the Saints are. I guess in their rebuild, they're having difficulty. They're not winning football games. Alontae Taylor's been in the league for 3 years, drafted out of in 2022, second round, and it looks like they do have 1, 2, 3, 4. So he's in his last year. The Lions, it wouldn't cost them squat money wise. Maybe a couple $1,000,000 for the rest of the season. I think that he would be a high-level football player to add to this team. 8 games, 6 starts, 419 snaps. He's averaging 91.3% of the snaps played. 1 sack, 36 tackles. No interceptions. He's not a ball hawk, right? He's got 2 interceptions during his time in the league. I would need to do a little bit more workup on him as far as his passes defense than that. I just don't have those up at the moment. Okay, so the next corner. The next corner would be Roger McCreary. Similar to Arden Key, obviously McCreary is a defensive starter who they're saying doesn't fit the long-term plan of the transition in Tennessee. Now, Tennessee's had a terrible season, so if there's 2 teams that could really trade a lot of players, those are the 2. His name has been circulating in trade buzz as roster cutdowns do as well, or when roster cutdowns were happening. He's a reliable corner who can play inside or outside, so I do like that. Traits that are typically elicit some type of trade interest. Sounds like day 3 pick swaps. Now that's intriguing. If you're talking a late 4th or a 5th to bring in Roger McCreary, that is intriguing. It is intriguing. Cash-wise right now, he's only owed a couple of $1,000,000. He was drafted in 2022, round 2 as well, along with Alontae Taylor. 3 years of experience. So far, his statistical output for the season, he's only averaging 58.2% of the snaps, 8 games played, only 2 starts. So that's high-level backup, right, with high upside potential, high ceiling potential. 1 sack on the season, 1 interception, 33 tackles. I like those numbers, at least at the very beginning of trying to dig into this player. I do like those numbers. The biggest question that I'm going to ask you is, after what we just witnessed against the Bucs, do we need a corner? Didn't we just find like 4 or 5 that could definitely be suitable for the future of this team, to stay young, to stay inexpensive? Or do you want someone that's a little bit more proven? I do like Arthur Maulette sticking around. I think that that's a possibility. I think that Jamie Robinson over time could stick around if he can manage the gauntlet of this season and stick to the practice squad or the roster. That's going to be tough to do. But I do like his upside. Whether it's now or coming back, there could be a potential there. And then the last corner, I think, for me, that's on this list, you have Cam Taylor-Britt out of Cincy. And again, I'm not so sure. I think that the Bengals have hitched their wagon to Joe Flacco, even though they lost a tough game this weekend. They have DJ Turner and Dax Hill. And there's a player that I was going to highlight over the weekend, but I wanted to wait and see what happened in this game first. I'm going to add one more player to this list, and that is Dax Hill. We already know how Dan Campbell feels about Dax Hill, and we absolutely could see the style of player that he is on the field. When we played the Bengals, he gave us problems. Dax Hill is another style of an Amik Robertson type in a bigger body. That's what Dax Hill is. 6 foot, 195 out of Michigan. He's a hell of a corner. 2022 round 1, pick 31. So at the very end of the round. Well, second to last. Unless that was the year Miami lost the pick. Was that the year Miami lost the pick? Either way, the dude's had a pretty good season. And when you're looking for a guy that can be versatile, not only with his size, but his speed, his awareness, his agility, everything that he's about, inside, outside style of a corner. Matter of fact, I highlighted him a little bit in my Amik Robertson piece in talking about the extension of Amik Robertson. Dax Hill's name is one that I utilized, and in his future, his, where he's going to be slotted, how much money he's about to make. Let's see. Do they have they don't have a valuation on him already? Why not? I had to dig to do my own valuation, but let me take a look at over the cap. See if they have a valuation for him. I would say he's going to be in that $12 million range. What's his real name? Is it Daxton? What is Daxton? There we go. So Daxton Hill, I don't think he's a trade option, right? I don't think he's a trade option at all. Looks like Eric is back in. I think he's an option for next year, or potential trade, free agency, whatever, at the end of the season. Next year he's going to make $12.7 million on his 5th-year option, which the Bengals have already picked up. You know what? I am going to throw him into the ring. Daxton Hill as a potential trade target at the deadline for the Lions. If the Bengals have now unhitched their wagon and feel like maybe Daxton Hill would be better suited, to bring them some draft picks and continue building. One sec, Eric. That could be a potential. And I really do like his ability on the field. Like his ability overall. And what excites me the most is the fact that Dan Campbell loves this dude. Gave him a lot of praise during Bengals week. Almost got you, Eric. One sec. Let me know my luck. Everything will be all screwed up. Welcome back.
Yeah.
All right.
Hopefully everything's working.
So anyway, I just was kind of running down some of the trades. So as far as Daxton Hill goes for me, and the last thing I'm going to say about the trade on the corner is I really don't think that we need somebody, given the fact that we just found all of these diamonds in the rough that need a lot of polishing. Let's not kid ourselves here. I mean, these guys need to tumble for a while in some heavy grit, and that's what the Lions are all about. They're going to get these guys tumbled up and ready to rock and roll eventually. It's just keeping them on the roster, on the practice squad, not getting poached by somebody else. That is the difficult part. And if the Lions feel like bringing in a vet right now is going to add not only to the room, but also add to the ability to keep the guy on the roster, whether it's practice squad or roster, then it makes sense. But we just brought in Kendall Fuller, and I'll apologize. I haven't seen any movements this week yet. I haven't seen any movement or any transactions. So I don't think the Lions have lost anybody just yet. But those are my choices. Those are the options that are being floated out. If I were to put my thumb on it and say, these are the guys that make the most sense to me at the trade deadline out of the three positions that we've talked about, no defensive end, no wide receiver. Corner only makes sense is if you're looking for a guy that is entering his second contract next season that you think could be a part of this team moving forward. And if that's the case, you're about to spend another 3-year 36, 3-year 30, 3-year 40 on this next player, which is going to limit what you have available for Brian Branch. It's going to limit what you have available eventually for Sam Laporta, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Jack. So there's those things, right? Jack is getting paid next year, 1,000%. He's getting paid. So those are my thoughts on the corner. The last thing I want to talk about is offensive tackle. Eric, I don't know how much you've heard when you were out.
I heard everything.
Okay, any thoughts on the corner position here?
Corner, no. I think we have so many reinforcements coming back with Terrion Arnold and DJ Reed. I just don't think it's something needed unless there's something like seriously wrong and DJ Reed or Terrion are going to miss the rest of the season. Then you might have to do something. But like you said, Kendall Fuller came in. He was on 4 days of practice on the practice squad. He just wasn't ready to come up for this last game. But you know what? We have something here in Detroit, and it's called the Legion of Whom. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'll take Whiteside and Hallett all day. I'll take Millette. I'll take Millette and Whiteside. You put them two dudes back there. Dude, after one game, I trust them.
You're nuts. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I like them. I couldn't trust them. I couldn't trust them. I couldn't trust them just yet.
They did it against the team that was rated the number one, had the best record in the NFL, and they shut them down.
I get it, but think about it for a moment. Like,
okay,
Evans was injured like in the first quarter.
He wasn't.
He was
in the second half.
Nope, he was. I remember watching it vividly. He was drove out of bounds. I think it was first quarter. He was drove out of bounds, and when he got up, that left arm was just hanging. And you could tell, and I mentioned it during the live show. I'm like, something's wrong with his arm. Something's wrong with his shoulder.
Oh, yeah.
And his arm was just hanging, but he still played. And it wasn't until later in the game that he dove and he finally couldn't get up. You know, maybe he finished off the collarbone. Maybe there was a light break. Maybe he fractured it, and then he finished it, later in the game. So he wasn't 100% even entering the game, let alone after that first quarter. And then Abuka was not 100% either. So I would say that, they did a wonderful job going in against professional athletes. Even the backups that they had on that squad. What's his name? Tez Johnson. He's played pretty well. So I think they did a wonderful job because they could have done multitude of things, to try to pick apart that defensive secondary. And I mean, Baker he missed a lot of throws, but there was a lot of guys open at times. Had he just made the throw, different story. It could be a different game. But I get what you're saying. They played incredibly well when the lights were the brightest. I mean, look, I couldn't have been more happy for those guys. Like they put on their best interview for the next team, if there is a next team. And that was the game to do it. So I get it. I know what you're saying. It's just
listen,
hard for me to trust somebody after one game.
Baker Mayfield coming into that game was the leading MVP candidate in the league for MVP. He was leading everyone. He was on every list. He was number one to be the MVP. Well, he has fallen off the face of the earth after playing the Detroit Lions. The hangover is real. Against the Saints, Baker went 15 of 24 for 152 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. 152 yards. That's awful against the Saints.
Was it the
Now,
same? Was it the same refs in the Michigan State game?
I think so. Now they did win 23-3, and the Bucks are now 6-2, a half a game ahead of the Lions now, or one game ahead of the Lions. And I'm telling you right now, we did something to Baker Mayfield.
Oh, I think everything got in his head. But he has no weapons right now. I mean, Ibuka, I think, is about it. I don't even know how well he played. I forgot there's a few more honorable mentions on here.
Okay.
Yeah. So you remember last year I was really pumping Azeez Ojulari, and at one point I thought this was gonna happen. It didn't. But I do like Azeez Ojulari still. I know that I think he signed a 1 year. Let me just look him up. I think he signed a 1 year prove it deal.
He's with Philly now, isn't he?
Yeah. And that's the other reason why I like him, because he's been playing in their system and he knows. I mean, we kind of run a similar system. So yeah, he signed a 1 year deal, only at less than $2 million this year. That kind of move makes sense to me. You're talking a guy that's still young. He's battled some injury things. He's healthy right now. He's just stuck, down a depth chart. He's not getting much for snaps at all. So he's a guy that's really fresh, right? Hasn't played much. That one kind of makes sense to me. If there was any credence to him being moved last year to the Lions, that one could possibly happen. But then again, you're saying, man, would the Eagles really do that? Will they really trade to an NFC opponent knowing that the Lions are going to be right there? Probably not. And that's probably the only reason.
The Philadelphia Eagles lost Zadarius Smith to retirement.
Yeah.
And they've been reeling for defensive end help right now.
Well, if there's one team that's going to go out and make a trade and make something happen, it's probably going to be the Eagles. And so you could take a look at just about any of those opportunities. I'm just saying one name the one name that was floated. Hold on, the one name that was floated. God willing, it doesn't happen. Was Trey Hendrickson.
Yeah.
That was the one name that was floated that could be going to the Eagles, and Howie Roseman will pull it off somehow. I don't know how he does it, but he'll do it. And I hope it doesn't happen. But you're going to say something. Go ahead. I screwed you up, didn't I?
So say he does go to the Eagles. Say the Eagles get a big trade. Then I would see them trading Ojulari. But unless they have some one-for-one better player, I don't see them trading him. Now, there was one thing I wanted to say about Trey Hendrickson. He was injured by a cheap shot yesterday, and he was knocked out of the Bengals-Jets game. Let's see. He took a shot in the back from an O-lineman on the next to last play of the half, and he was knocked out of the game. So this says, when I was a kid, they used to tell me winners never cheat and cheaters never win. John Simpson, the starting left offensive guard for the New York Jets, has other ideas about that. Simpson, who has already been flagged for 3 unnecessary roughness penalties this year, hit Cincinnati Bengals defensive end and 4-time Pro Bowler Trey Hendrickson in the back with what was clearly a cheap shot that was not flagged. It also knocked him out of the game. Hendrickson went down and writhed in pain momentarily before getting back to his feet and trying to jog off. He was eventually seen moving gingerly to the locker room. He was eventually ruled out of the game with a re-aggravation of the hip injury that forced him to miss Thursday night's win over the Steelers. So if he's dealing with injury, who wants him on a 1-year rental? Because you're getting him for a half a season. You're not getting him for the full season. He's got to come in. He's got to be a fit for your system. And he's injured. So
Bro.
his whole, option may be out the window now.
Yeah, I guess you got to follow the injury. Well, I guess here's the other thing. Nah, never mind. I'm not even go down that road. You got to follow the injury and see where it trends over the next week to 10 days. So I just looked up the Eagles.
Yep.
Dude, I gotta give Howie Roseman some props.
Dude, he is a good GM. We talk about Brad Holmes all the time, but Howie Roseman, he gets it done, man.
This dude, this dude, 48 players under active roster in 2026. If you don't know what I'm talking about, if you don't know how significant that is, it's significant. To go from 1 year to the next and all you have to add is 3 players to that top 51, all you have to do is go through the draft and you've got your top 51 is done. But they essentially need to add 21 players to this roster, of which probably seven of them are going to come through the draft. So they need 14 players to add to the top 69. And they're going to bring in, 8, 9, 10 free agents, and they'll sign, a few guys in the offseason. But that is impressive. Want to know why it's so impressive? They have $34 million in cap space next year. You add on the year-over-year increase, they're going to have about 70 before the rest of the dead money that creeps in and some of the other things that will end up hitting. But they could do whatever they want right now. Right now, they have about $11 million in cap space for this season. They could take anybody they want into this roster. Anyone. Doesn't matter the dollar amount. They could do it. And the reason why they can do it is because you can go under the cap right now. You could send your team negative. The only thing you have to do is be positive by the new league year. So if he wanted to bring in a $100 million man, he could. He absolutely could. He just has to adjust it next year. Taking a look at the Lions. Okay, let's take a look at the Lions real quick. Lions in 2026, we only have 38. So the Eagles have 10 more players under contract. The difference, the Eagles have 34 million. The Lions, 2.5. We have $2.5 million in cap space next year. We have 25 million right now. So when you talk about trades at the deadline and you talk about bringing all these big names, what all of the clickbaiters won't tell you is the Lions are broke. Broke. Like, it's not even close. Yes, we have 25 million. But what happens next year? Okay, so if you bring in a guy that's going to get paid 12 to 13 million next season that has 1 year left on his deal, well, now you're upside down for next year. Now you're upside down 10 million. You had that 30 million that's going to hit. Now you've got a plus of 20 million. So what are you going to have to do? Jared Goff, he's going to get paid 70. Well, that's going to have to get whacked in half somehow. So you're going to have to give him a huge signing bonus. And even if you give him a huge signing bonus next year and you cut that number in half, well, a third of it or a fourth of it, something is probably going to end up hitting, the cap this year. So let's say his cap number drops to 50 million. Okay, so the Lions gain 20. Well, that means we're operating with only 40 million next season if you're able to get Jared Goff done. Do I believe that it'll happen? Yes. I think that Jared Goff will do something with his deal. But Taylor Decker's owed 21 million. That's why Taylor Decker's got to go next year. Because by cutting him after this season, you'll save about $19 million. So that'll add another 20 to the cap space. You're going to have to draft a left tackle very, very early in the draft. And we'll save the rest of this conversation for another day when we talk about the future. But the point that I'm trying to make here is for everyone talking about all these massive trades, they never tell you that the Lions don't really have any money. It might look like we do when you look at it and you see 25 million, but I'm willing to, I would bet anything Brad's going to try to roll over as much as he can to next season. And so there becomes the biggest question. How are we going to re-sign Aiden to a massive deal?
Mm-hmm.
How are we going to re-sign? I mean, okay, so JMO's already done, and Aiden had the 5th-year option picked up. So that's already been attributed. That's already accounted for on, the dollars and cents sheet here. But there's still other players that need to get done. Jahmyr Gibbs was a first-round draft pick. Do you have to do anything next year? No. Jack Campbell was a first-round draft pick. Do you have to do anything? No. Brian Branch was a second. Sam Laporta was a second, right? So you have to do something with those guys.
Yes.
You have to. Unless you're going to really make them play it out through their 4th season. I wouldn't think that Sam would sit, but I would say Brian Branch could if his agent really wanted to do it, because that's where it comes from. And let's not forget that either. The direction comes from the agency, not the player. Typically. Some players are a little bit more, loud about it, but I think a lot of that comes from the agency. So anyway, I'll back off of this, but that's the point that I wanted to make on some of these trade options too, is that the Lions don't have a ton of money. And then when I look at what the Eagles are doing, there's a reason why you draft and develop. And this is why. When you start to buy players, things can spin out of control in a hurry. And that's why it takes time to build a roster. We're only into year 5, and I say only, but we also started with nothing. The Eagles didn't start with nothing. It took them a long time to get to where they are. It really did. Look around the league, man. There's a lot of teams that have spent a lot of money. All right, let's go to offensive tackle real quick. Mm-hmm. It's after 10. Are you good today? Are your shops closed right now, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, I forgot. All right, offensive tackle. So there's a couple of names. Man, did the Giants season just blow up in a big hurry last night? Cam Scatterbo and that injury. All immediately I felt Aiden, I felt Dorsey, and I'm like, oh God.
It looked like Dak Prescott's. It looked identical to
I don't remember Dak's.
His foot was going the wrong way.
Oh yeah. No, I thought it was out of the skin, but
I'm gonna say this. The Eagles and the Giants are bitter rivals. And you should have heard that crowd cheering for Cam Scatterbo as he left the field, giving thumbs up and getting the crowd pumped up. That dude knew. He knew already. He knew the second it happened that his season was over. And everybody that looked at it saw his season was over. He was in an air cast. And I got to give props to the Philly fans because they get a lot of crap for being the worst fans in the NFL all the time, for being rude and mean and whatever at their home stadium. Well, they were at their home stadium yesterday, and that happened to Cam Scatterbo, and they cheered him as he went off the field because Cam Scatterbo has transcended not just the NFC East, but the NFL, period. Everybody loves him. He's a great story, and I think he's got a great future in the NFL. I just hope that injury did not screw him out of the rest of his NFL tenure.
Yeah, that was it's pretty scary stuff, man. And I tried to watch it as many different ways. I'm not going to show it, but I tried to watch it as many ways as I could. I know that there's a lot of people complaining that it was a hip drop tackle, and I think it looked kind of similar to that, but it almost looked too bang bang to me. Like I didn't really see a hip drop, but I mean he landed on him in a funny way.
I can almost guarantee there's going to be a fine out of that play.
I don't know. I guess I'll have to watch it again.
Oh, don't watch it again, man. It's awful.
That stuff doesn't bother me.
Oh,
it doesn't bother me.
It's like watching the wrestler that jumps off the top rope and when he lands, his leg snaps in two.
I've never seen that either.
Oh God,
I don't watch
wrestling.
And
the boot's the only thing keeping his foot together.
That sucks.
Yeah.
All right, so offensive tackle. So the Giants season, did it just kind of blow up in their face, and would they potentially move off of Evan Neal? So Evan Neal, there's a little bit of buzz. It feels like an ideal time to deal Evan Neal, more so now. He was a number 7 draft pick in 2022 who's been inactive all season. And the Giants starting offensive line finally felt settled Cam Scatapo's running all over the place. Not anymore. And to your point, I hope it doesn't screw up his future. So would it make sense to part ways with Neal, and would that be an intriguing option for the Lions, knowing that this player hasn't played all season? He had a pass block win rate of 83% over his first 3 seasons. He had he missed a total of 20 games though during that time, so fairly injured. Could the Lions take a risk here? This one makes sense. And it only makes sense. Okay, I know what I said earlier, that Brad doesn't bring in injured players as much as you think he does. This is one of those exceptions to the rule, because if you can bring a guy like this in, as cheap as he is going to be, and you can turn him around and you get a first-round type talent for next to nothing, this is how you do it. Let me get his info up.
Yeah, I just brought up a list of the top 25 trade candidates on ESPN.
Mm-hmm.
And at number 25, they have Evan Neal, offensive tackle guard for the New York Giants.
So he's only set to make was $7.8 million this year, and it appears that the 5th-year option was not picked up. So that would all but tell me that the Giants are more likely done with Evan O'Neal. This makes sense. It does. It makes perfect sense to me that this is the type of a player that you could bring in on the cheap. Yeah, it might cost you a couple $1 million this year, but what are you going to bring him in for? A 5th? A 4th?
This says that they could bring him in for a late round pick swap.
Ooh, what are you seeing? Late round?
On
Well,
ESPN.
how late?
Well, this says feels like an ideal time to deal away Neal. The number 7 pick in 2022 has been inactive all season. The Giants' starting offensive line finally feels settled, which would make parting ways with Neal even easier, even if for just a late round pick swap. Teams are always looking for
I missed the late round pick swap part.
Yeah. They're saying he could be had for a late round pick swap.
So you're talking 5th,
Yeah.
6th?
Yeah, let's trade our 5th for your 5th and him, and let's go.
I mean, our 5th is later than theirs, so we'd probably have to go.
Oh,
Like if they were thinking a 6th round pick swap, we'd probably give our 5 for their 6.
yeah.
Or I don't even know if remember if we have a 4, but I probably wouldn't go to a 4th round pick. But this is a guy that you can bring in that has high upside, and yeah, he hasn't played this season, but you get him ramped up, right? You get him ready to rock and roll, and if all else fails, you sign him to a cheap 1-year prove-it deal immediately, and you keep him around for 2026. That, to me, makes a lot of sense when you're thinking about bringing in a guy. Let me bring some stuff up on him real quick. When a guy that can play at a high level, has proven it, I don't know why or what didn't work out, if it was the injuries or what. I don't know what didn't work out, and I don't know why his name is so hard to find.
Yeah, this is Neal had a pass block win rate of only 83% over his first 3 seasons with the Giants, and he missed a total of 20 games during that time span. Still, teams could be willing to take a chance on Neal as a reclamation project due to his traits as a top 10 draft pick.
Yeah.
Enter Hank Fraley.
Yeah, those are all the same things I was reading a minute ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there comes Hank Fraley.
Here is. Let me get into a snap counts. 24. All right, 24. He only played 469 snaps. And primarily at right tackle. I think he could end up being an immediate upgrade. He's 6'7", 350. Could be an immediate upgrade for somebody like a Dan Skipper, especially for next year. So that's the future that I'm thinking. Maybe it doesn't help you as much this year for the left tackle side, but then again, you could put Penei Sewell on the left side if you had to. they've spoken about it. It's not their first choice, as Dan has mentioned in previous press conferences, but they have spoken about it. It is an option if needed. So there's that. Then there's the whole Miles Frazier conversation. I know you've been wanting to talk about this one for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
So Miles Frazier. Now, I heard weeks ago in one of the press conferences that Dan said, it was unlikely that Miles Frazier was going to be coming back this year. He was kind of likened to the Christian Mahogany pathway back to the league, right, after taking a lot of time off. And he said very different, right, in trajectory. They could tell right away that Mahogany was going to get there. Miles Frazier is kind of the other end of that spectrum. They don't see where he's been progressing well enough. Now, that was weeks ago. So if something has changed since then, I haven't heard anything change. I haven't heard anything from Dan or Brad or anybody. So I wouldn't count Miles Frazier in. And a guy that hasn't played at all, just like Evan Neal hasn't, that would be a little bit concerning to bring somebody in to think that they're going to be a starter or starter ability if need be. O'Neal is future to me. He's someone that could be a swing tackle, and he's definite option for the future as a backup. Braxton Jones from the Bears, I highly doubt Ben Johnson's going to do that. So I'm not even going to consider that one. I don't really see a whole lot of people on this list, Eric, for tackles.
Yeah, it's pretty few and far between. I think so far that Evan Neal is probably the most realistic trade I've seen on either side of the ball. And, you know, if you can do it for a pick swap or a late round pick, and, you know, even if you got him for, let's say, a 5th and they give you back a 7th, even that would work for me. Looking at Miles Frazier, I did look up the thing from Jimmy Liao, and he has week 11 versus the Eagles as a possible return date for Miles Frazier, which would mean that coming out of the bye, they would start his clock. And how many people are you going to start the clock on coming out of this game? So we'll find out on Wednesday if and who might be starting their clocks again, because you have DJ Reed, Marcus Davenport, Malcolm Rodriguez, Daniel Thomas, Ahmed Hassanin, Khalil Dorsey, Zach Cunningham, Giovanni Manu.
Well, Manu's done for the year.
Yeah. It says unknown on here because did they put him on season-ending IR?
Manu?
Was his an ACL or something?
Last I read, he was done.
Oh, okay.
He's on injured reserve. We know that. I don't think he's on season ending yet. All right, back on October 11. I didn't know he was on NFI last year. Oh, yeah, he was. I knew that.
Oh, Mahogany?
Yeah.
So this also says that Miles Frazier had an off-season knee injury that caused him to miss all of training camp. On September 29th, Dan Campbell stated he's progressing, not as fast as we'd hoped. It's not as clear as Mahogany was last year. And then it says that last year, Mahogany's window opened on October 8th, and he saw his first action on November 24th. There are recent signs on Miles Frazier's social media that he is close to returning to practice.
Okay, so Dan didn't say that.
No, that's on his social media, on Miles Frazier's social media. I don't follow him, so maybe I should.
Yeah. I wouldn't have any reason to believe that Miles Frazier is the answer. So I think we need to put it into two categories. what's the answer this year? And then what's the answer for the future? And I think if you're looking for the answer this year, right, that's what we're talking about. If there's an issue with Taylor Decker, who could step in? I think that's the biggest question everyone wants to know. I think a lot of people are worried about Taylor Decker, and I think that rightfully so. I mean, the dude's an absolute warrior, though. You know, you got to love his heart. He has put everything on the line this year. He has played every bit of what he has in every game that he's been in, minus what? He missed two games? One game. I just don't know if he's going to be around next year given his big contract. So it's kind of twofold. How do we help Taylor Decker this year with a swing tackle, a competent backup, number one. Number two, how do we move on from Taylor Decker and that giant contract? I know that they just signed it, but I think they signed it with an intent to be able to walk away, which is the way the contract is kind of laid out. And I mean, what's your answer? I guess here's some options. If I'm looking across the league, the first thing I'm going to say is, okay, what players are going to be free agents next year? There's only the one, Evan Neal, that's listed by ESPN that's an option. There's Braxton Jones, which I'm good, right?
Yeah,
I'm good.
no,
That's not going to happen anyway. Ben Johnson is smart enough to know he's not going to trade with the Lions. He knows damn well he's not going to be able to fleece Brad Holmes in any way, shape, or form. So that's not going to happen. I can't imagine that ever happening. If you look at Cleveland, right, there could be some options there. They have Cam Robinson. He's 30 years old, 9 years of experience. He's a free agent, but his AAV is about $12 million a year. You have Calvin Beachum with the Arizona Cardinals. He's 36 years old. He's making $4 million, roughly. DJ Humphries with the Rams, doubtful. Rams are they're on a heater. San Francisco, Spencer Burford, doubtful. Joseph Noteboom with Baltimore, there's a possibility there. And again, I'm not speaking into the consideration of injuries or anything right now. I don't have that list in front of me to compare both of these side by side. But there's an option there that if Baltimore loses again, then maybe they start to think about packing some things in or moving on from some players. Noteboom's older, 30 years old, probably wouldn't happen. Then you got Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay hasn't lost enough games to worry. But how about Charlie Heck? I mean, I know that Aiden has gotten the best of him a couple of times, but he's played pretty well at times, too. He's 29 years old, so he's a little bit older. He's a very cheap option that could come in and play. You also have Justin Skule from Minnesota. So if the Vikings are considering to pack it in, Justin Skule's 29 years old, or about to be, 7 years of experience. None of these names are really lighting the Christmas tree for me. Max Mitchell from the Jets, there's a possibility. You've got the Jets, Aaron Glenn relationship, and Woody probably wants to make something happen. Rasheed Walker.
Have another one from the Jets.
Who's that?
Chuck Wuma Orafor.
Is he? He's a free agent. He's not a free agent in 26.
Oh, okay. But that's one that's listed as a possible trade candidate with the Jets.
Maybe is he younger?
He's an offensive tackle, must be.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You also have Tyler McClellan out of Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay has two options. I mean, he's like vet minimum, not even. He's a exclusive rights free agent as well, so he's really young. Demontre Jacobs out of Arizona. Theo Benedict out of Chicago. Again, that's not happening. All right, Barry Wesley out of New Orleans. Probably not happening. He's not a needle mover to me. Luke Tenuta from the Colts. Again, not a needle mover for me. So when I look at this list, I hate to say it, but I think you got to take a hard look at Cam Robinson. It's a lot of money. It has to be extremely attractive, meaning the Browns are going to have to pay some dollars to move Cam, kind of like pay to move him, and you get a draft pick in return. That I'm open to. Hopefully Brad is too. Calvin Beachum is older. He's cheap. He's experienced. I have not looked at any sort of pass rush win rate or pass block win rates or anything, but there's that as well. Any of these popping for you?
No, not really. And somebody in the chat says, what about Zeitler? Zeitler's not coming back, and Zeitler's a guard. He's not a tackle, so that wouldn't really help us too much.
Yeah, looking at like Calvin Beachum, who's probably the cheapest, maybe the oldest, but cheapest option, not doing so hot this year. He's only 3 penalties, only 1 sack allowed. He's only allowed 7 pressures. I mean, that's not bad either. But again, I'm not considering the fact how many snaps, which very low. He's only played a total of 114 snaps this year. So he might be a backup already. Again, I don't know everything about everybody, so I'd have to do the research. Justin Skule, on the other hand, just a quick search on Justin Skule. Just because it could. I don't think any divisional teams are going to want to, or interdivision teams are going to really want to trade with the Lions, especially the Bears and the Packers.
Mm-hmm.
But Justin Skule, same thing. He's only played in about a third of the snaps this season. 2 hits allowed, 6 sacks. Hard pass.
Yeah.
Hard pass. So there's just not a whole lot out there. So that means you either got to go for it or we deal with what we got. That's why I'm going to fall back to Evan. Just went to a bad cramp. Evan Neal. That one makes a lot of sense to me. But
that
again,
one makes the most sense of all of them.
It just may not make sense to Brad.
Yeah.
Cam
if you
Rob,
can get them for some kind of swap, perfect. If not, you're just gonna have to go with what you got.
Cam Robinson, the last one I'll highlight. Only 203 snaps played, so what is that? A third of the snaps so far, maybe a quarter. No, I'm saying it's a third. That's a third. 2 sacks allowed, 6 penalties, only 7 pressures. So it's not terrible from a statistical standpoint, but his overall grades, again, I don't care about PFF, but his grades are not good. His run block is better than his pass block, and we need pass block. And right now he's the 72nd out of 77, according to PFF. So there's just not a whole lot available, and that's why, again, I don't see anything happening, especially the big name players. If I were to sum up the trades for the week, and we'll touch on it again throughout the week as anything heats up. If I were to pull a couple of names out of a hat, Reek Woolen, I do like the idea. I don't see Seattle doing that. Alontae Taylor, I like the idea. I see the Saints probably doing something like that. So 2 corners. If you're thinking of future, Roger McCreary from the Tennessee Titans. I see the Tennessee Titans probably doing something like that. Does make sense. Money-wise and everything, it all adds up. Really low on the totem pole as far as the Titans really wanting to move off of somebody like that, the future, which they say he's not part of the future, but that's to be seen. Cam Taylor-Britt out of Cincy. I'm low on this one. Very, very, very low on that one. And that's really it. One more thing I want to touch on, unless there's anything you really want to get into. Is there anything that's on the top of your head?
No. I think with the whole trade thing, I can't wait until next Wednesday is over and done with. That's my view on the whole trade thing. From the beginning of the off season until next Wednesday is my least favorite part of the NFL. And it's all the trade talk and rumors and this and that. Once we get past November 4th, it's just football. There's no more there's no more clickbait, this and that. Well, there still is, but there's no clickbait. Oh, we're going to trade for this guy. We're going to trade for that guy. It's all done, right? So next Wednesday, it's all done. We can get back to just football. None of this crazy, could it be? Are we getting Trey Hendrickson? Are we getting Parsons? Are we getting this guy? No, none of them are coming. And if I had to put on a scale of, let's say, 1 to 10, 1 being Brad's going to make a trade for sure, and 10 being there's no way he makes a trade. I'm going to say we're at a 9. I'm going to say it's very, very highly unlikely that we make a trade for anyone at the trade deadline.
I'm probably not as confident, meaning, look, I think Brad has his fingers on something. Obviously, every year, Brad's going to do what he's going to do. And I mean, he's always looking. I think that the one thing that he's always proven to us is that he has an extremely good pulse on the league, on other practice squads, and a lot of players that maybe we don't know as much about. Clearly, I don't have enough time or nets to cast to pull in a ton of information like they do. But the thing that Brad always does every year, and I know a lot of fans don't feel the same way, is I think he makes the best decision for the Lions in the moment and for the future. It may not seem that way at the time, but just go back and ask yourself, in 2023, when you were screaming and hollering for something to be done, anything, right? Whatever that was, how did the Lions do that year? NFC Championship, right? Almost 17 minutes away from a Super Bowl. Would any one singular player have made the difference to get us to the Super Bowl? No. We were almost there with the team that we had. A couple of calls, a couple of bounces, and you can't, we can't live in this world of hindsight. I think that is the wrong, this is my opinion. You live wherever you want to live. I think it's the wrong view, wrong thought process to kind of live in hindsight is always 2020. And the one thing I'll never understand about any fan base, it's not just the Lions, but any fan base, is they'll say, see, that player had a really great year. We should have got that player. Brad, you suck. Why didn't you go get that player? So, man, and in our corners, they fell apart in the NFC Championship game, or they fell apart, last season. We needed all these edge players. See, that edge, he had a really great season. Why didn't we bring him in? And then you fail to recognize, you lost 8 of them or 7 of them. There's no amount of preparation. There's no amount of roster space that can have 9 or 10 defensive ends. And quite honestly, you guys all understand how the world works, I hope. If you would have brought that player onto your team, there's no saying that he doesn't get injured on your team. Just because they didn't get injured on the Browns or the Bengals or the Colts or the Ravens or whatever team it was, does not mean that player does not get injured on your team, playing in your scheme against those teams. In that situation, it's all different. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. Science has proved it. Your life has a different reaction depending on which door you walk through. So, hindsight 2020 is a dangerous place to live when you're trying to look at your team and say, we should have done X, Y, and Z. Sometimes there is the glaring thing. Like if you say, man, we really need a quarterback. Our quarterback is not good. And that's pretty easy to see. There's no hindsight there. You know he's going to have a bad season. He has a bad season. Your team doesn't win football games. That's usually pretty easy to see. But that's just one player. And far and few between do you go through 3 or 4 quarterbacks in a year. Maybe 1 or 2 at the most. I think 23 was the craziest year that I think 3 or 4 teams went through a handful. And one team went through, I think, 4 in one game. And it might have been the 49ers. So the point I'm going to finish here with is Brad always seems to make the right decision for now and for the future. It may not seem like it at the time. And yeah, there's going to be players that have better seasons, but that doesn't mean that that's going to happen on your team. If he went out and spent lavishly and put us into a box to where we can't continue the success, that to me is a bigger detriment to your team because coaches are less interested, players are less interested, performance drops, right? Morale drops. And then that really puts you into a bind. So whatever he does, I trust in what he does. He hasn't failed us. Just because we haven't won a Super Bowl doesn't mean that Brad has failed us. I think that we can all agree that there's been a pretty pretty bad circumstance. 23 going into the NFC Championship, we were down a few players. Maybe didn't make the difference. We barely built the team. You're only into year 3 from nothing. This last year, 21 plus players to hit IR. There's no way you guys honestly thought that we were going to win a Super Bowl. Yeah, it felt like it at the time. We were winning a lot of games, but Amik Robertson proved us that we were one injury away. That was the final. That was the final straw, man, that broke the camel's back. This year, excuse me, I think we have plenty of depth. No, I don't think I know we have plenty of depth. As long as these guys can get back and play at a 90 to 85, 90% level, I think we're good. Final thought on trades for you and that whole sermon I just gave.
Okay. So I think if my memory serves me correct, that during the 2023 would have been the 23 season. I think it's the 23 season. At the trade deadline, everyone was clamoring for edge. Everyone was clamoring for this and that.
Oh,
and
yeah.
What did Brad do? He threw this curveball and he traded for a wide receiver, Tim Patrick. No one saw that coming. No one. That was not what we were supposed to be trading for. That had nothing to do with that year. We were good. We had Josh Reynolds. Why are we trading for Tim Patrick, right? Well, he was looking ahead. And he wasn't so much looking for that year. He was looking for the next year when he knew that Josh Reynolds wasn't probably going to be there. So it kind of worked out because Josh Reynolds was the guy that dropped the ball in the NFC Championship game. He was one of them, and I'm going to say this.
To be clear,
right now.
I wouldn't blame Josh for that loss, but anyway.
No, but a lot of people did. And a lot of people blamed, what's his face, the cornerback there, went off his face mask, Vildor. Yeah. Well, Vildor had a pick 6 the other day in a game, so with the whole trade thing, I'm going to say this. Don't expect Brad to go after a specific player, and don't expect Brad to go after a specific spot on the roster, a certain, tight end, or, he could surprise us all. And all of a sudden, hey, we get a backup quarterback. That's what he goes for at the trade deadline.
Dude, I didn't even think about that, but that's kind of spot on.
Yeah, that's what Brad does. He's thinking ahead. He's not always thinking in the moment, right? And I know he sees that we're getting all these guys back, and there's just not going to be room for everybody when everybody gets back. Someone's got to go when someone comes back in. So just adding a bunch of players through trades, I just don't see it happening. I see a 1 chance out of 10 that Brad trades for anyone at the trade deadline.
All right, a couple more things here. I'm just going to roll through my. I apologize. I haven't been doing these all year, but part of the NFL media credential is I get these updates, and I haven't been doing it, and I don't know why I don't, but I want to do it.
Send it to me, and I'll do them.
Yeah, right. Where did it go? Here we go.
Because you were reading some of that to me last night.
Oh, it's great stuff. It's great stuff. So I mean, it's fun to go through and recap what kind of happened throughout the week. So here we go. Yesterday, can I pop this thing out? I need to pop this out. There we. Oh, it doesn't like my computer ever. I'm just gonna have to read it through the email. All right, it says October 26th, a look at 7 statistical highlights from games that were played at the 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock slot. Indianapolis Colts, which I got a hot take on the Colts in just a minute, won their 4th consecutive game to improve to 7-1, the first time since 2009, where they began 14-0, that the team has won 7 of its first 8 games of the season. Hot take. Eric, I mentioned this to you earlier.
Yep.
Are the Indianapolis Colts the new Detroit Lions?
They're surely looking that way. Daniel Jones has resurrected his career. What were the Giants thinking getting rid of this guy? What were the Vikings thinking letting him slip through their fingers? He was 21 of 29 for 272 yards and 3 touchdowns yesterday. 3 touchdowns.
Dude's on fire.
This guy is playing out of his mind.
Shane Steichen is turning this team around, and there's 2 quarterbacks. Well, there's a couple more that are rookies, but there's 2 vet quarterbacks that I warned everyone about. You remember those 2?
Yeah.
Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
I said, do not forget those names. Sam was going to have an incredible year last year. He did. This season, everyone said, oh, man, he just had a great year because of Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. No, I said he's going to do it again, and he is. Daniel Jones. He was a product of the New York Football Giants that absolutely suck at developing players. They did never put enough around him. They've never given him an opportunity to succeed. And as soon as he gets inside a team that has their head screwed on right, the Minnesota Vikings, with a pretty damn good coach and some good football players, I think that Daniel Jones started to see a few things, learn a few things, and then he gets an opportunity with the Colts, who have Shane Steichen, who has been building this organization from the inside out, putting good foot. I mean, I said it last year. I thought the Colts were going to break out. They didn't. They were 1 year away, but that defense was alive. And that defense is even better this year. So Daniel Jones, I think he's going to stick around the Colts for a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised. You know, I forget what his contract is. I think it's only on 1 year. But I think he'll be sticking around with the Colts for a little bit. He's still young enough. And the guy's playing at an absolute high level. And man, did the Giants screw up. But they couldn't develop him. They just they didn't do it right. All right, next up. The Denver Broncos and New England Patriots each extend their winning streaks to 5 victories in Week 8. The Broncos led the NFL with 36 sacks and have allowed a league low of 8 this season. They're the first team in NFL history with 35 sacks and 10 or fewer sacks allowed in its first 8 games of the season.
Wow.
That's pretty impressive.
That sounds like a sack differential to me.
It's crazy, right? 30.
Yeah, they should have a sack differential for every team.
That's a good stat.
That's a good stat, man. They have the number 1 sack differential. That's hard to say. Sorry to interrupt you, but
no, you're good. You're good. Yeah. The Colts fans are calling him Indiana Jones. That's great.
Yeah,
that is funny. That is funny. I apologize not about getting into the chat. And that was next up. So Trace, this is next up for me on the Jets. Aaron Glenn gets his first win. The Jets are playing out of their mind yesterday. Justin Fields, I'm glad that I did not like Justin Fields on the Bears. All right, FTB all day. But I do like Justin Fields, the football player. I do like Justin Fields, the person. I don't care where he went to college. Nick Mangold, at 41 years old, passes away to kidney disease. I had no idea. I didn't hear about any of this. I had no idea that this was even happening. But 12 days before he passed yesterday, he had pled online for a kidney match. And I guess they couldn't find a donor. And I don't even know how many people offered or tested or whatever. It's just nuts to me that a player is taking such good care of his body, and you never know what kind of supplements people take, or, you know, did he eat too much meat? Who knows? I don't know the surroundings of the kidney disease. But to hear that he passed away at such a young age, it's 2 in the last week to 10 days now, under 45 years old. It hit, man. It was heart-wrenching yesterday to hear about that.
Yeah.
And then the Jets, and they go out and they take care of business. Finally. They put Nick Mangold up on their shoulders, man, and they went to battle for him. Justin Fields had one of his best games ever, from what I'm reading. I didn't watch the full game, but
so
Go ahead.
Aaron Glenn is the reason that the Jets won this game. Late in the fourth quarter, the Jets were trailing by 14 points.
Mm-hmm.
And they give the ball to Justin Fields. He goes down and he scores a touchdown. And instead of kicking the field goal, Aaron Glenn channels his inner Dan Campbell and he goes for 2. And guess what? They get it. So they get 2. They're down by 6. Now, there's 4 minutes left in the game, and they need a stop from their defense. They haven't gotten one all day. They finally get a stop from their defense, a quick stop. Hardly took any time off the clock. Their offense gets the ball back, and they go right down the field, and they score again to win the game. That win was 100% on the shoulders of Justin Fields, but even more so, Aaron Glenn. And then afterward, his speech in the locker room was electric. It was awesome. It sounded just like Dan Campbell. He was talking about grit, and this is effing grit, and that's the way you do it. And from now on, this is the kind of grit we're going to win games with. It just oozed Dan Campbell. So congratulations. Yeah.
Let's listen to Mr. Aaron Glenn. I've always liked Aaron Glenn.
Yes, me too.
Always liked Aaron Glenn.
And there's still time. He could still have the better season than Ben Johnson, because the wheels kind of fell off.
I sure
Bears
hope so.
yesterday.
I don't quite see that happening, but that would be great.
Did you see that final series for the Bears yesterday?
No.
How it
We'll
went down?
come back to it in just a moment. All right, Aaron Glenn. Oh, you know what? Let me make sure that this is not muted. Hold on. Looks like it was just a short clip that they shared online here. All right, Aaron Glenn, post game. Here we go.
I don't have all the numbers and all that right now. But man, defense, when it counted, you stepped your up and you made it. Yeah. We had to think of make. Offense, 500. Brand, 254 rushing yards. Yeah. Man, I love this group. And man, from here on out, grit. Because I told you during the offseason, man, we have to create an advantage. We did. But you showed all the grit in the world to win this game. Let's have a good flight home. Have a great week, man. I love this group, man. Let's call it up.
Absolutely love it. I'm glad that they bleeped it all out for us.
How fantastic was that? Oh.
I love Aaron Glenn, and the dude is so fiery, man. It sucks. It sucks having him on the other side now.
It does.
But
we don't have to play him twice a year.
Exactly.
And I'll tell you this, watching that, if you're a Lions fan and that didn't put a big smile on your face, then you're not a Lions fan, man.
Yeah.
Because you got to be a fan of these coaches as well, not just
except for Ben Johnson.
Yeah. Well,
I can't do it. I can't do it.
Listen, I still love Ben Johnson. I just don't like the way he did things, and I will boo him every time he comes to Ford Field.
Yeah, I'll clap for Aaron probably.
Oh yeah.
I'll probably clap for Aaron.
Now, did you see what happened in that Steelers Packers game last night?
No, but hold on. I'm going to finish the Jets.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Hold on here.
Yeah.
So, squirrel. New York Jets. I'm the same way. New York Jets last night. Breece Hall, 133 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns, had the go-ahead touchdown pass with 154 remaining in the team's 39-38 comeback over Cincinnati. Hall is the fourth non-quarterback since 1950 with a game-winning touchdown pass in the final 2 minutes of the fourth quarter or overtime, joining Rod Gardner in 2003, Curtis Martin in 2000, and Paul Krause in 1977. Hall is the first non-quarterback with multiple rushing touchdowns and a touchdown pass in the fourth quarter of a single game. He is also the 5th running back since 1950 with at least 125 rushing yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, and a touchdown pass in a single game, joining the Pro Football Hall of Famer LaDainian Tomlinson, Mario Bates, Chuck Munchie and George Taliaferro. What a game by Breece Hall. But now I'm going to flip it. Gibbs, you got some work to do because you can't let this stand. So you're going to have to do something in the fourth quarter. At some point this season or next, you need to own that. So go get after it. And big shout out to Gibbs, by the way, too. I mean, did we forget to mention that Gibbs, what was it, 218 all-purpose or 213 all-purpose? Highest number of all-purpose yards in a single game since Calvin Johnson. So pretty impressive. All right, that's it for me on the Jets. Congratulations to Aaron Glenn. Congratulations to Breece Hall. Big day. I don't think I had him in any of my fantasy teams, but if I did, great. I didn't check. What was your point you're going to make on the Steelers last night?
Oh, just that when they played last night, there were thousands of Green Bay Packer fans in the stands. How all those Steelers fans sold all those tickets to the Packers, I still don't get it. But if you looked into the crowd last night, there were so many Aaron Rodgers jerseys out on the field. We're getting some Circle of Doom stuff going on. Oh, there it goes. And they were cheering on Aaron Rodgers last night. They had some chants going for Aaron Rodgers and Go Pack Go stuff in the stands. And you could hear it on TV. And apparently Aaron Rodgers had to switch to a silent count at home because there were so many Packer fans up in the stands. But the love for Aaron Rodgers was oozing everywhere. Those fans miss him so badly.
I was surprised.
What a contrast to the way it was with Matt Stafford coming back. Could you imagine if Matt Stafford came back and we cheered him the way that they were cheering Aaron Rodgers last night? That just seems weird to me.
It does. And look, I don't even know why. Well, I do know why. I don't think that the distaste for Matthew Stafford was really meant for him in the beginning. I think it was his wife that started it all, and that we ended it. But I think that that's really why it got going. He got heated by the fan base because of his wife. What his wife was saying. That's that simple.
Yeah. Okay. Well, how about this? We play the Rams later this year at the Rams. And I've been thinking about going to that game possibly. I could not imagine myself sitting in the stands with a Matt Stafford jersey on and getting a Matt Stafford chant going after Jared Goff beats him at his own place. That's essentially what happened last night with the Packers. Could you imagine that?
No, I mean, I couldn't do it, but that's just because LA fans are totally not fans at all. Like, their fan base sucks. It's terrible. They've got so many different teams playing in that stadium, and I don't know. LA just said they don't have a great fan base.
Yeah.
They're really not dedicated to anything. They're just, I don't know. But no, I couldn't do it. I think last night was a bit special. You know, I have to give I rarely give Aaron Rodgers his props. I have to after last night's press conference because he was not dejected. He was not humiliated. He was not an a-hole. He was cordial. He gave props to Jordan Love and felt like he played a really good game. So, I mean, Aaron, I thought was pretty nice dude last night. Not compared to the narrative about Aaron Rodgers. I think I just said Aaron Jones. Aaron Rodgers. I kind of enjoyed his press conference there at the beginning. No, I don't think he did that.
Yeah, something's going on because we're getting pauses. We're freezing up, and then the stream is doing the same once in a while.
Yeah, it just popped in for just a second, then it fixed itself. I don't know. It seems like whenever I go longer than 2 hours, we have a problem.
Yeah.
That means I need to start switching. I got to do what I said I was going to do to start the season. I got to start the first half hour, the first hour, which we're going to try to change something up. Hopefully it'll happen. And that way I can try to segment this stuff. But anyway, moving forward, let me finish this out. We can pack it up out of here.
Sure.
Get back to this thing here. I know we talked about Daniel Jones, but 272 yards. Oh, by the way, 500 yards of offense for the Jets. Insane.
Yeah,
Daniel
great.
Jones, 272 last night, 3 TDs, 136 rating. Jonathan Taylor, 75th career game, totaled 174 scrimmage yards on the night, 3 touchdowns. Huge night for Taylor. Wow. 38-14 ass beating of the Tennessee Titans. He joins Brock Purdy as the only quarterback with a passer rating of 100 or higher in each of their first 5 home game starts with a team. That's unfortunately one that Jared Goff will never get back. But anyway, Taylor is also the 6th player in NFL history with at least 70 scrimmage yards in his first 75 career games, joining Jim Brown, LaDainian Tomlinson, Emmitt Smith, Chuck Foreman, and Todd Gurley. That's a pretty eclectic group of guys. Now, I'm wondering where Jameer is. So that's 6th player in NFL history with 70 scrimmage yards in his first 75. No, he won't have that. Next up, Baltimore running back Derrick Henry, 2 touchdowns on the night. Not super impressive, but they did beat Chicago, thankfully. 112 career rushing TDs, has now passed Walter Payton for the 5th most rushing touchdowns in NFL history. Again, on this group, Emmitt Smith, Marcus Allen, Adrian Peterson, and LaDainian Tomlinson. Let's see. Henry also has 29 career games with at least 2 rushing touchdowns, which surpassed Adrian Peterson's 28. And only Pro Football Hall of Famer LaDainian Tomlinson, I don't know why I'm struggling to say his name this morning, LaDainian Tomlinson and Emmitt Smith have more. Last night, Philadelphia quarterback Jalen Hurts had 4 TDs, no interceptions, and a 141.5 rating, while running back Saquon Barkley rushed for 150, including a 65-yard rushing touchdown, added a touchdown reception in the Eagles' 38-20 win over the Giants. Now, Hurts, who has 15 touchdown passes on the season, 5 rushing touchdowns, and 1 interception, which is absolutely stunning. 1 pick so far through half of the season. That's probably my biggest fear about the Eagles is they don't turn the ball over, which means we have to play pretty damn good football in all 3 phases. Barkley has 9 career rushing touchdowns, 60 or more yards throughout his career, tied with Pro Football Hall of Famer Jim Brown and Derrick Henry. And only Adrian Peterson has more. He has 15 of 60 or more. What else here?
I'd like to talk about that last series with the Bears.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch more to go through here. There's one more I wanted to hit on. It was the Browns, and I just got to find the Bears if they're in here. I don't think they are. Nobody cares about the Bears. Okay, Myles Garrett. Again, I'm just going to say it. Sacks. What? What am I going to say, Eric?
You got 5 of them yesterday.
But sacks
don't matter.
What?
Yeah.
Don't win football games.
Nope.
Aiden Hutchinson at 4.5 against Tampa Bay last year. Did we win? No.
Nope.
Myles Garrett, 5 touchdowns, career high and single game franchise record, 5 touchdowns. Garrett has 10 sacks on the season, is the 3rd player since 1982 when the individual sack became an official stat with at least 10 sacks in 8 consecutive games. 10 sacks in 8 consecutive seasons, joining the Pro Football Hall of Famers Reggie White, who will always, him and John Randall both, who are both mentioned here, will always live at the top of my list, and J.J. Watt. So Garrett turns 30 this year, has 112.5 career sacks. He passed Reggie White, who had 108, for the most sacks by a player under the age of 30 since 1982. And impressive. extremely impressive. But again, it didn't win the game. Matter of fact, what was the score in the Browns game?
The Browns game was 32-13.
Man, those sacks really stopped them.
Yeah, and even though there was 5 sacks, Drake May went 18 of 24 for 282 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception. I'll take it all day long.
Think about that for a moment. 18 of 24.
Yep.
So that means he had 1 incompletion last night because the other 5 were sacks.
Yep.
Well, let me take that back.
Yeah.
Out of his dropbacks, he would have had 1 incompletion, not out of the whole night. Pretty impressive stuff, man, by Myles Garrett. But the most glaring thing that I wanted to point out about this one more time is this is why I when we talk about money for Aiden, I could never pay Aiden more than Myles. Ever. Ever, ever, ever. And the reason why is it took Myles Garrett 7 straight seasons to earn that money of hitting, hold on, let me go back to it, 10 sacks in 8 straight seasons. So prior to the season, he had 7 seasons straight with 10 or more. And most of those seasons were up in the 14s, 15s. Guy's been super consistent throughout his whole career. That's why I couldn't pay Aiden that kind of money. When you have a player like this who's done way more in their career from beginning till now, and he finally earned that giant paycheck like that. It's going to be a tough decision for Brad Holmes to weigh the future and also weigh what's relevant for this team. All right, final thoughts are going to you, whatever you want to talk about.
All right.
You said the Bears, so I don't know what you had there. But yeah.
Well, the thing about the Bears is if you go back to last year on Thanksgiving, the Bears had the perfect setup opportunity to win the game against the Lions. You know, they had plenty of time. They were down within field goal range. All Caleb Williams had to do was dirt the ball. That's it. And they have an opportunity to kick the field goal and win the game. So back to yesterday, there's about just under 2 minutes left, and Caleb Williams hits Moore on a super long pass down to about the 1 or 2 yard line. And they run down there real quick and they run a play. Instead of clocking the ball, they're letting the clock run. They run the ball and they don't get it. They lose about a half a yard. So super quickly, instead of clocking it again or taking a timeout, Caleb Williams hurries up and hikes the ball and tries to sneak it himself. Doesn't get it. So they get all the way to 4th down, don't get it, run out of time, and they give the ball back to the Ravens. And it just reminded me so much of that same, I have no clue what clock management is style of playing football. And Ben Johnson was just dejected at the end of that game.
I bet.
And because he knew that Caleb wasn't listening to what he wanted.
You think so?
I think he was very much going on his own.
He went rogue, huh?
I think he went a little rogue at the end of that game, trying to get in that touchdown real quick because they were down 2 scores. They needed to get it and then get an onside kick. But even to be in that game, his time management at the end of games is absolutely atrocious, and it's cost him 2 games now. And you got to remember, the Bears went 4-2 to start the season last year and ended up with 5. Don't be surprised if they don't get too many on the rest of the season. They got a pretty rough schedule coming up, and I would not be surprised if the Bears do fall off and end up, like we said, 3rd place in the division or 4th even behind the Vikings. So that's my 2 cents for the end is, if you get a chance, go back and watch the last 2 minutes of that Bears game, and you're going to see that, man, all he's got to do is go down and spike the ball, stop the clock, and then throw the ball into the end zone instead of, trying to run it 3 times and just letting all this time go off the clock and huddling up and doing all this stuff. So his time management needs some major work for the end of games. And I hope Ben Johnson can work with him on that. Ben looked so dejected at the end of that game.
I'm just wondering if it's Ben or if it's truly Caleb.
I think it's Caleb because it was the same thing last year.
Yeah, but I don't know, man. That last game in week 18, or what? I'm sorry, what week was that we played the Bears last year?
Thanksgiving.
I don't know that was I don't know that was Caleb. I think that was Eberflus. He kind of said as much after the game. But if I'm Caleb, if I'm a quarterback that knows what I'm doing, if I'm a quarterback that, now this would be the ultimate don't do, but if you're Peyton Manning or Tom Brady, or hell, even Jared Goff, right? But let's just say Peyton Manning or Tom Brady, and you're in that situation, 4th down, 33 seconds left, you could score, right? You're in position to get a first down, score, do something. Field goal, I think would have tied it or won. I can't remember. I think field goal would have won. And you have a timeout left. If I'm one of those two and I'm not getting a call in from the sideline and I got nothing going on, either I'm going to hurry up and call a play and get the guys up, or I'm just going to and then get reamed out for it. But I'm going to say, what the F are you doing? We don't have a choice right now. I get saving the last timeout to try to get the field goal unit on. But as long as you have 17 or 18 seconds, you can get the field goal unit on. So it's call the timeout now, go get everybody settled down, call the play. Field goal team better be in a line, whole sideline cleared. Field goal unit is right there on that 40 or 30 or 35, wherever, and you're ready to run in. And that is probably one of the most confusing things that I've never noticed or understood about NFL coaches or any coaches. Like, wouldn't it make sense to have, guys lined up shoulder to shoulder, 3 stacks, 3 to 4 deep, and you're on the yard line that you think that you're going to be able to go run straight down. Everybody just goes right in a line. You get on the line, you get set. The kicker is in his spot, so he's on his yard line. The snapper's on his yard line, and everyone just runs straight in. I've never seen a team do that. But I did it. That's how I coached my kids, my young ones back in the day. We did stuff like that to make sure that they were ready to go. So when we called them, one of the first things that I taught them was you have to be in your ready position. I was trying to teach them fundamentals, right? How to be prepared, how to not get lost in the game. Because, young kids, they don't pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
And they did it perfectly all the time. Why don't NFL teams do that? You see guys scattering from all over the place. Yeah. Instead of everyone is just set. And as soon as that play ends, they're running on the field and they're in their position. That would probably save 5 or 6 seconds, honestly. But anyway, I'll digress. Decent show for not really being that planned. I got to get to a doggy appointment. So,
yeah.
I hope, anyway, I hope everything's going well with your cat, but,
yeah,
got to end the show today. So we'll see you guys back in the morning. Go ahead, Eric.
Hey, I had an idea. We should try to get Paul Farrington on the show this week.
Oh yeah. I think he will be.
Okay. Cause I watched his shows this week and they were fantastic.
No, yeah, he's great.
After the Viking game, after the Bears game, and after the Packers game. And I've been tuning into him a lot, and I'd really like to get him on the show and get his take about this week's game between the Lions and the Vikings.
Yeah, we usually do it every year.
Yeah. I just didn't know if you had him lined up yet or not.
We talked about it in the beginning of the season. I just got to email him again today.
Okay.
This is the beginning of the week. But yeah, we should be able to make it happen.
So I got one more squirrel moment for the day. You're never going to guess in your wildest dreams who the offensive coordinator is for the Indianapolis Colts.
Just take Cooter. It's Jim Bob Cooter.
Jim Bob Cooter. Oh my God, I can't believe it. The former Detroit Lions offensive coordinator, Jim Bob Cooter, is the offensive coordinator for the best offense in football right now. That does not surprise me one bit. It's great that he got a second chance working for another team.
Yeah, he's really never exited the league, but
No.
he was way too young to start his career the way that he did.
Yeah.
But I got to run. I got a meeting here in 6
All right.
minutes. 4 minutes now.
Sounds good. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
All right, y'all. Y'all have a wonderful day. We'll be talking more Lions news, analysis, and trades. Probably not so much trades tomorrow. But we're going to start getting ready for these Vikings right away, man. We've got a good matchup coming, one that I think that we're going to win, but we have a lot to dig into, and we'll do it all week long. So appreciate everyone joining us this morning, and hope you have a great rest of your day. And you too, Eric. All right, take care. Bye-bye. Maybe bye-bye. Where is my ending? Somewhere in here. All right, adios.
Pressured by Hutchinson. He goes down again.
Rise and Grind Morning Show is the best podcast in the world. Amik Robinson.